Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Tottenham boss Thomas Frank has not long finished his press conference, in which he previewed Spurs' upcoming Premier League trip to Merseyside to face Everton. The Dane has reflected on the midweek Champions League draw with Monaco, whilst also looking ahead to the clash with the Toffees. There was a key update on the fitness of Christian Romero and Destiny Udogie, plus further details regarding team news. Below is the full transcript featuring every word Frank said from Hotspur way. Yes, Cutie just walked out on the grass running. Some of the performance guys, so positive, progressing, no time frame. But I don't expect it to be a longer one. Destiny is not on the grass yet, but still progressing, so again, not a longer one. With Dominic, it's positive, he's taking steps in the right direction every day, was on the grass again today on his own, but has now a sustainable amount of pitch sessions in him on his own, so it's progressing forward. Every head coach, manager wants all the players fit, and we get that. Then we complain about the squad being too big, and then you need to disappoint players, but anyway, I rather want that, of course. It is what it is, you're right. I very, very rarely say anything about injuries because it is what it is. I need to deal with it, and it's my job to put the best possible available team on the pitch and get it hopefully clicking. Of course, there's some of these, especially Kulusevski and Maddison, proven players that prove in this club for goals and assists and creating things, so they would have been lovely to be able to use. But I think we have some very talented players who are growing. Wilson, Xavi. I think Mo has been very good for us as well. And I think Richie had a good start to the season. He tried to get up to pace, but the reality is that we are working very hard on getting the flow with the front four. And hopefully it will be better, bit by bit. I think it's fair to say, I can't remember the amount of games we played, but there have definitely been some good games and good spells where we have been looking very good, so we'll keep working on it. I'm learning every day about the team and the players, individuals. I see a very willing group to want to work hard, to perform, to do the best for the team in this wonderful club. I learnt after a very competitive performance against Villa. I think, okay, there's something here. Very interesting, I know we lost, but the performance, that's what I need to look at all the time. Then I also learnt Wednesday night against Monaco as 2 examples. So it's every day, and you can say it in a way, we are then whatever, I can't remember the number of weeks we are down the line, but then I'll know more. But my focus right now is on Everton. He's definitely getting closer. Now is the first time he's had a sustained block of training, and also some minutes. I think it's also fair to say he's not 100% physically ready to be bombarding 90 minutes again and again, but he's in a place where he can be used, and that's good news. Everton are a very competitive team. There are more players than just Grealish. Beto has been good up front, and Undayai has been very good. I think Dewsbury Hall has been good, after maybe not being on top at Chelsea. And then a good colleague and friend of mine, David Moyes, is in charge, and his team as a whole is very, very competitive. He's a manager that I admire, and a person I respect massively in the game. And then, of course, Grealish, I think it's also down to, of course, always the player, but also part of the coaching staff. The manager and Moyes have got Grealish to flourish again. He is their main creator, no doubt about that. He's so dangerous, he can create something out of nothing in every game. So, of course, we need to be aware of him. I think this season I've seen a crazy peak in it. Personally, I like it. I think it's whatever you can do to create advantages in your team or create an extra weapon, extra threat. I think you need to look into it. I know there can be styles and what you believe in and all that. I'm just thinking, how can I make sure that we hopefully maximise the opportunities to try to score a goal? To score a goal is the most difficult thing to do in football. And can you give yourself one more weapon? Why not? I think myself and the coaching staff, we try to help any player in the squad. Xavi has been with us for 7-8 weeks, something like that, which is a very short time in football, but in a way also a long time. He is adapting every day. I like his personality, the way he played the first 60 minutes against Villa, and I think he tired a little bit tired as part of the learning coming into a much more intense league. Our demands to him are more intensity in general. But a player I believe in, I think he got the pass, I think he got the vision. He's just been out there, we've been training, and I think he trained very well. So yeah, hopefully he will get it step by step. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with him. He started probably the first 6 games, and I think he was a very, very good player for us. I can't remember, there was maybe a minor situation where we rested him. But no, it's just competition. Other players, done well. Decisions from me. But in general, I'm happy with Pepe. I've said that before, he was one of the players that impressed me the most and in the beginning of the season. And he's a very good player. I think probably the team. I think it's always team effort, how we construct a team, or how, in the end, it's my final decision, of course. It's a collective effort in terms of how we want to build up or how we want to create chances. I think both of them are more than capable of helping the team, and I think it's one thing that is part of the game. The other part is, of course, how can we make sure we are strong and solid enough if we are in a spell where we may be. The team is not as free-floating as we want it to be because of new players getting, gelled together, getting it more smooth, more free. How can we make sure that, if that's not working, how can we make sure we are super solid and still building? So that's part of the puzzle. Besides maybe Bournemouth, the first half against Wolves and second half against Monaco, everything has either been top, good, or good plus. And when I talk now, I'm not talking about everything is free-flowing, but I just think about your role, how you're competitive in a game. You are aggressive, you play with intensity, you try to get chances, you play behind them, and all that. So I think that's the way you build a culture in a team. I think that's, the day we decided that Daniel was not here anymore was, of course, a little bit, unusual is probably the word to use. And then the first couple of weeks, a lot of questions from you guys. I need to answer that, and a little bit in the media and all that. But since then, you get on with things. I focus on trying to prepare the team the best possible way with my coaching staff. I think the players, they are in their own little bubble and world and try to do the best they can to perform and make sure we're in the best possible place. So for me, it's a little bit like business as usual. And then, of course, behind the scenes, we are getting to know each other better and the direction we are going in. A lot of discussion around how the Spurs have been creatively this season, probably because I thought the other bits were the right players to pick for the day. Of course, I'm looking into every aspect to try to do everything I can to maximise the performance and us playing. First and foremost, maximise performance. And what I think is the best way, we can try to get results, of course, but also make sure we play as good as possible. And I'm, in general, been overall happy with both Joao and Rodri. It would be daft to be overly cynical so soon into Thomas Frank's Tottenham tenure, but the travelling Spurs faithful in Monaco did not have much to shout about all evening at Stade Louis II. The reaction of hardcore away supporters who pay top money to follow their club over land and sea is usually a good yardstick when trying to decipher the true mood and feeling of any fan base. It was all rather flat at times on Wednesday evening, and there were even a few audible groans when the odd Tottenham attack amounted to nothing, particularly in one instance when substitute Javi Simons turned back and squandered the chance to launch a promising second-half counter. But dig deeper than that, and it's apparent there is a growing sense of frustration regarding recent performances, both of which have been rather bland following the conclusion of the international break. Frank is an excellent communicator and undoubtedly a smart, flexible, forward-thinking coach that has already overseen great success in the Premier League with Brentford. But this Tottenham project is arguably on a different stratosphere to what he has previously experienced in West London at the G-Tech. For starters, Spurs are the reigning Europa League champions, and there was huge optimism that their historic triumph in Bilbao could prove to be a significant turning point in the club's history. Prior to his bombshell exit, Daniel Levy publicly claimed he now wanted Tottenham to realise their full potential and push to win the Premier League or Champions League, respectively. At Brentford, Frank largely enjoyed a full week of preparation and training prior to domestic matches, and now he is having to juggle European fixtures. It's a difficult balance and challenge he'll have to navigate, and following his Monaco heroics, Guglielmo Vicario made it clear the team was struggling to combat the congested fixture list. Additionally, supporters online have raised concerns over several of Frank's press conference comments. Following the 2-1 defeat to Aston Villa, the Dane insisted the match had panned out the way he had expected. It was a narrow affair, won by 2 long-range strikes from Morgan Rogers and Emi Buendia, but the reality is, Tottenham should never have allowed the game to escape their grasp. Optically, it was a loss that appeared entirely avoidable. After the 2-2 draw at Bodo/Glimt, it was put to Frank that Spurs had dominated their Norwegian opponents on their own patch in May in the Europa League semi-finals. This time around it was, of course, a different story. Frank again acknowledged that he was not overly surprised to see this season's contest play out differently, as he noted Bodo were more aggressive in duels. The harsh reality is that Spurs supporters are unlikely to tolerate this line of analysis forever if results do not improve, or at least become more consistent. Furthermore, the Spurs boss did not appear to be overly concerned that Monaco had 23 attempts on Tottenham's goal on Wednesday, as it was effectively a one-off. But if it wasn't for Vicario's resilience between the sticks, they could have been left red-faced and on the receiving end of a brutal, morale-sapping beating. It's undeniably a tough month ahead with fixtures against Everton, Newcastle, Chelsea, Copenhagen, Manchester United and Arsenal on the horizon, and Spurs cannot approach any of these games lightly. Confidence levels are already low, and Frank needs to rally his troops and showcase why he is the right man to drive Spurs forward. He has it within his repertoire. It was hard not to be impressed by Magni Akliouchi's performance against Tottenham in midweek. Most of their endless waves of attacks seem to go through the talented French gem, who is a hub of creativity. Spurs were well aware of his quality earlier this summer, when he is understood to have featured during recruitment discussions. Nobody knows whether Tottenham were prepared to move, but Monaco wouldn't have sold anyway, as they'd already green-lighted Elias Ben Seguir's switch to Bayer Leverkusen. They lent more in the direction of Como's Nico Paz, and eventually landed Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig, having already brought Mohamed Kudus to the club from West Ham. Kudus has nailed down the right wing spot, but Akliouche is definitely capable of operating centrally as a number 10, even though he primarily features from the right. If they were willing to push the boat out on another forward signing, though it's highly likely they would favour signing a left winger more than any other position at the top end of the pitch, Akliouche should definitely be strongly considered. There is so much potential, and he already looks like a superstar in the making. When asked by Football.London whether he'd be keen on a Premier League move in the future, he admitted he'd be open to playing in England. We also understand he is already learning the language, which certainly bodes well for the future.